Howdy, my name is Bailey Gruber, and for my ENTO 320 project, I did mine on the effects of chlorpyrifos and pesticides on an Apis mellifera linnaeus colony. So, what is chlorpyrifos? CPF is an insecticide that is widely used in American agriculture. It comes in several sprayable and granular forms and is used on a number of high acreage crops on which pollinators can be foraged. Some of these crops include tree nuts, alfalfa, corn, sunflowers, and almonds. It was found that in 98% of poison honeybees, 57 pesticides and metabolites were detected, a main villain being chlorpyrifos. In total, 84 different pesticides were detected in both live and poison honeybees. This leads to the issue at hand, which is the use of chlorpyrifos is heavily decreasing the bee population and negatively affecting our bee colonies. Chlorpyrifos is used in many pesticides and is a big factor to our decreasing population. In one of the studies that I found, they were able to track chlorpyrifos residue back to more than 75% of the samples in bee colonies. In these graphs, you can see how big of a role chlorpyrifos plays in the use of pesticides. In the graph on the right, chlorpyrifos is one of the highest causes of death for the Apis mellifera after the average death rates. So, what are the side effects of chlorpyrifos that affect the colony? Overall, for many pesticides, they affect the smell memory of a bee, their learning, and their reduction in their memory recall. However, chlorpyrifos specifically has side effects like broad production, weight gain, disease resistance, and can even trigger disorders in many colony dynamics and their labor participation. This just goes to show that even the smallest dose of a pesticide can significantly decrease the bee performance. So, what are some of the symptoms of poison bees that a beekeeper might need to look out for? Well, there are a variety of ways that one can spot a poison bee. However, the few and main factors include excessive numbers of dead and dying honeybees in front of the hives, increased defensiveness, lack of foraging bees on normally attractive blooming crops, paralysis, and abnormally jerky or rapid movements, like if a bee is spinning on their back. So what is it that we can do about chlorpyrifos, and how do we protect our bees? There are many bans, limiting of use, and beekeeper-grower cooperation that have been now occurring. With the new knowledge that bee colonies are in the midst of a massive die-off, thanks to our dangerous pesticide that we've been talking about, the EPA has started to reconsider the use of chlorpyrifos for bee and human safety. There have been quite a few bans in different countries, such as the ban that the European Union placed in 2018. Soon after that, in 2019, EPA Administrator Andrew Wheeler announced his decision to reduce the amount of chlorpyrifos used for crops. In his decision, he decided to allow chlorpyrifos to continue to be used on only conventionally grown food crops, like peaches, cherries, apples, oranges, and corn. However, the chemical is not allowed for organic use now. Lastly, I would like to talk about how important beekeepers and growers' cooperation is. They are now in cahoots with each other and know the importance of how they need pollinators. This is also considered to be one of the most effective ways to reduce poisoning. The beekeepers and growers coordinate crop timings and dates for the arrival of the Apis mellifera. Detail in the beekeeper's responsibility is to provide strong colonies for crop pollination as well as having details about the grower's safeguard from poisoning the bees. While Chlorpyrifos is very dangerous, there are a few ingredients that are not so toxic for bees in some pesticides. Some of these include garlic, sulfur, cinerade, choline clay, corn gluten, and Bacillus genus. However, some of the toxic pesticides that one might want to avoid is 7, Bayer systematic, ambush, and raid. Lastly, we really need to limit our use for chlorpyrifos. We need to make sure that we are talking to our local beekeepers and to the growers to make sure that we are not decreasing our bee population, and we need to protect our bees. Thank you.